Yo, what's good, basketball heads? It's your boy Crush. So let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, Paul George, and that sorry team. They are currently 11th in the East, in the Eastern Conference, with a 15-27 record. They are almost 6 games out of the 8th spot, the 8th seed. This team is horrible. Obviously, because of injury, Joel Embiid, he's been injured. Paul George, he was injured at one time. So they are battling injuries. They have Maxey, but I mean, what can he do by himself? I mean, the kid could play, but what can he do by himself? And Paul George is no longer a second option. He's a third option. PG 13, at this stage in his career, he's a third option. He is no longer a second option. No Joel Embiid. You should still be able to stay afloat with Paul George and Maxey and the others, at least be at 500. I understand why the Clippers and Steve Ballmer did not pay Paul George. I get it. And I wasn't against it. I was actually for that. Like, why would they pay him only to lose again? And look at what the Clippers are doing. No Paul George. Kawhi just came back not long ago. Kawhi just came back. James Harden leading the team. They're doing pretty good. No Russell Westbrook. He went to Denver. No problem. James Harden, he's leading the team and they're balling out. And it's real disappointing, man, to see the 76ers like this. Because when we all got the news, Paul George, he was heading to Philly to join Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, we all assumed this team would be competing. That automatically made them a contender. That's what we all thought, at least at the time. Everybody was saying, oh, this team is going to be top of the East, top of the NBA for that matter. They are a contender, which they should be if you base it off talent. But when you are injury prone like Joel Embiid and Paul George, that don't matter. The best ability is availability, and they can't stay healthy. And it's very disappointing, man. If I'm Paul George, I would feel away. I mean, you left. The Clippers didn't re-sign you, and they were correct in doing that. You got the money you wanted in Philly, but you have been injured. And ever since you came back a few weeks ago, the team is not winning. They're currently 15-27. So this team is 12 games under 500. That is mind-blowing. 12 games under 500. What's more crazier is, guess what? There are only 3 games out of the 10th seed, and you just need to make the 9th or the 10th seed to have a chance to possibly make the playoff. So as horrific as they've been, they have been terrible. They still have a chance to make the playoff via the play-in with a record like this. That's crazy. So the play-in games, I love it. The play-in games is great. It's been a gift and a curse because teams who actually deserve to make the playoff in the past, if you were in the 7th or the 8th seed, you're good. I made the playoff, no problem. But now the play-in games, that changed the whole dynamics. Everybody got to keep competing, especially teams on the West. In most scenarios, the seeding is separated by 2 games, 3 games. It's pretty close. From the 4th seed all the way to the 12th seed, in the West that is. The games are usually very close. So the play-in games made it so you got to keep competing. You can't relax. We already made it, no worries. It also benefit the bad teams because a team like Philly, they could still make the playoffs. Just win the play-in games and end up in the playoff. Imagine a team like the Cavaliers or the Celtics. Would you want to play the Paul George, Joel Embiid 76ers in the playoffs? No, you would not. It doesn't matter what their seeding say, whether they're at the bottom. No. Talent-wise, that's a hard fight. That would be a dogfight. So you have grinded all season to have one of the best records in the league. Comes playoff time, now you got to go up against the 76ers in the first round. Now that sucks. That's a possible scenario if they end up making the playoff via the play-in games, because there are only 3 games from the last slot, which is the 10th seed. You just got to be in the 10th seed. To qualify for the play-in games, you only need to be in the 10th slot, and they are only 3 games away, so there's a huge possibility they might make the playoffs. But this team ain't going nowhere, man. And it's sad. Joel Embiid, he's finished. Great player, but he's finished, man. He can't stay healthy. And this is the history of most big men. This have always been an issue with centers, always been an issue with the bigger bodies. They can't stay healthy because all the weight on their joints when you're jumping. And Paul George, he's just not a second option anymore. I don't feel like he's a second option. I'm sorry. We have seen him in LA for 5 seasons. And what did they do? Nothing. He was always injured. Kawhi was always injured. At this point, if you have hopes of the 76ers bouncing back and possibly winning a championship, it's not happening. Because first you got to stay healthy. And Joel Embiid, he's never healthy. Paul George, he's never healthy half the times. You can't rely on Maxey. Maxey is an up-and-coming star. He's a really good player. He's not there yet. But it's still mind-blowing the fact, they could still make the playoff. After all the injuries, they have a terrible record, crazy seeding, and it's a disappointment. What's crazy about the whole situation is Wendy, he spoke about this. When the news broke, Paul George, he signed with Philly. Wendy was like, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed because we have seen this movie before. We have seen this movie before. And he was right. He was 1,000% right. And I felt the same way. Like, that's cool, but we have seen Paul George, man. We have seen the work. He's a great player, of course, but is he a winning player? No. You make the playoffs. That's about it. But is he a winning player? No. Even as a second option? No. It's unfortunate for Philly, man. But they're going to have to just blow it all up, honestly. Signing Paul George to that huge contract, that was a mistake. I get it. You needed a second star to pair with Embiid. So they did what they could. I understand, but now it's looking like that was a mistake to give Paul George $200 million, only to be injury prone. And when he's available, they're still not winning games. So you paid him for what? Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, they dodged the bullet. They made the right decision because I don't think it would have been in their best interest to pay Paul George for $200 million or whatever he wanted and cripple their franchise. That's just not a smart decision. So they made the right decision. Philly made the wrong decision. Joel Embiid is already injury prone. Paul George is injury prone. So that was a gamble. That was a huge gamble. And it failed, man. You have 2 players who can't stay healthy. How are you supposed to win? How are you supposed to compete? And it's an unfortunate situation, but that's what it is. Truthfully, Joel Embiid, he's done. I'm not saying he can't return and give you, and still score the basketball, but he will never be healthy. Not healthy enough to win a championship. You got to be available, especially in the playoffs. Nah, Joel Embiid will never be healthy. Not on that level. So I don't think it was a great idea to sign Paul George for all that money because Joel Embiid can't stay healthy. And Paul George, half the times, about 40% of the times, he can't stay healthy either. So you're paying 2 players who can't stay healthy. But this is the future of Philly, right? I mean, this is Philly right now, currently. And it's sad, man, because the talks were, they could compete with Boston, the Bucks. Oh, Philly, Philly's in the mix. That was the whole thought process. When we heard Paul George is joining Joel Embiid and they got Maxey, that's what I also thought. I thought it was going to be, man, it would have been a dogfight in the East. It would have been a dogfight for the number 1 and number 2 seeds. But apparently, the Cavs been a surprise. Nobody saw Cleveland coming. They have been a major surprise. We already knew what Boston would have done. They won the championship. So we already had an idea. But the Cavs, nobody saw the Cavs coming. No one saw the Cavs coming. They have been a major surprise this season. We knew Boston would have been in the top 3, either number 1 or the 2nd seed. We already knew this. But just to see what the Cavs have done, so all the hopes of, it's going to be a dogfight between Boston, the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Cavs doing what they're doing, that would have been amazing. But unfortunately, the 76ers, they had a horrendous season. So that all went up in smokes, basically. All the hopes they could challenge Boston, the Bucks, and the rivalry, that's all dead. because they are barely trying to stay afloat to make the playoffs, basically. This team is trying to make the playoffs. It's that bad. New York, they've been balling. They got called Anthony Town now. They've been balling. But it's unfortunate, man. But I would blow it all up, honestly. There's no point wasting time. Just start rebuilding, man. Joel Embiid, you had your run with him. The process actually worked as far as, you place fans in the stands, you sold merch, you sold tickets. It worked in that sense. But as far as a championship, unfortunately, his body can't hold up. His body can't hold up. And Paul George, he had his run, man. The dude about to be 35. He can't stay healthy. And even right now, he's available, but the Sixers, they are not winning. So it's just bad in Philly right now. It is bad in Philly right now. And I feel like more than likely, either next season, after this season, I feel like the following season, the 2026 season, Philly might be looking to move Embiid because there's no point. There's no hope. He will never stay healthy. But as always, I'll holla. As always, we just talking basketball. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share. Holla at your boy.
It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about the game. I'ma say it. It's all about the game.